Hi, everyone. So today's show comes with an important message. You're a genius. And I don't mean that sarcastically, and I don't say it lightly. I say it because it's true. There's a genius in all of us, and my guest today is here to help us uncover it.
It was like a massive surrendering of ego. I wanted to help people in the way that I had been helped because people had saved my life.
I know this sounds weird, but when you practice enough of that distance, it's hard to get hysterical. She is an author and psychologist with an endless experience and insight on the subjects that matter most: relationships, acceptance, and openness. Her new book, Wise Effort, offers wisdom that will wow you.
Sometimes consistency can become your problem.
And I'm honored to have her here today. Please welcome my friend, Diana Hill. This podcast is brought to you by Timeline. I know if you are training consistently, sometimes certain things can sneak up on you. Like you're doing all the right things. You're doing your workouts, you're eating clean, you're showing up, and yet your progress, it just stalls. That's actually what got me first interested in Pure Gummies from Timeline. Now, I've been taking Timeline for several years, so it was really learning about urolithin A that got me interested in the brand, and now I'm so excited to share they've got an even easier but delicious way to take it. So they're the first ever longevity gummies, and it's powered by urolithin A. So urolithin A is clinically proven to boost your energy at the cellular level, which means more strength, better endurance, and faster recovery, all from the inside out. Because sometimes it's not about just tweaking your workouts or changing your food and your macros. It's really about what's happening under the hood. And as we age, it's normal, our cells naturally make less energy. And that slowdown can show up in things like fatigue, slower recovery, and plateaus, no matter how hard you train. And this is where Pure really comes in. It's the only clinically backed form of urolithin A that's out there. It's been shown to increase muscle strength by up to 12%, and that's after 16 weeks with doing nothing else different, and it genuinely helps your body repair and renew at a deeper level. I've been taking these gummies, and what I've noticed most, my recovery time, it's just way better. My energy's more even, and I feel like I'm getting more out of my workouts. Plus, they taste great. They're really fun. They're clean. They're vegan, gluten-free, non-GMO, and easier than taking a pill. So if you would rather take a gummy, here you go. Just chew and go. So if you're training hard but not feeling results, or you're looking for sustained energy to feel like yourself again, I highly recommend giving these a shot. And right now, Timeline is giving my listeners 20% off to try them. So all you have to do is head to timeline.com/Gabby, TIMELINE.com/Gabby. If you head there, your cells will thank you. Diana Hill, welcome back to the house. This is the first time we're doing a one-on-one. I interviewed you last with one of my most favorite people, Katie Bowman. We talked about movement, all the reasons I know I should exercise, and now you have a new book out. Congratulations. It's just you on this one, Wise Effort. I find it interesting because when I was reading the book and just paying a little bit of attention to you, and just after thinking the last time I met you, you're a little bit of a sandbagger, I find. Because to meet you, it's sort of like this nice, and there's like you're not going to impose yourself too much on somebody, at least initially. But then you can feel like once you really pay attention, sort of this very strong will and a lot of thoughtful ideas that are, you have written this book with a lot of passion. It's very thorough. I was telling Justin that just even the wisdom questions in this book would help somebody. So I'm so happy to talk to you because I'm hoping maybe you'll show us like your full teeth today a little bit so people will really see what a savage you are.
No pressure. I am a savage. You've got me in terms of the sandbagger.
You are a savage.
Yeah. But then we learn how to not show that all the time, right? Because sometimes that can be a problem too.
Well, it's, if it, right tool in the right environment. You talk about that in this book, like using your genius in the right way, and also that you do all of these things ultimately if we can get it dialed from love. So being a savage could be a savage for the truth, for helping people, for people learning how to help themselves. So it's not a bad thing. It's a great thing.
Yeah, well, that was sort of the entry point because when I was working on Wise Effort, I actually had this good friend. She's a positive psychologist. And what she was saying to me during the process was, you're talking about something like genius energy, the thing that makes you, your sort of spark, your je ne sais quoi. And she was worried that it would get into the hands of a narcissist and it would be like too much, right? Like you're going to call someone a genius. And I responded with, I think it would be really good if a narcissist got their hands on this book.
Can you imagine?
Because if you get far enough into it, it all comes down to love. So that would be a positive thing. If the genius is what gets you in the door, then all the better. And then for the most part, people don't see themselves as geniuses. They don't see their strengths. And for most people, they see a little bit of each. Like, yeah, I have strengths, but then I have things I need to work on.
So before we dive into this, because you're going to come across as sort of really well-rounded with your education and your spiritual practice, yoga, all the things that you have been involved with. You sort of started your teenage life into young adulthood with your own personal battle.
Yeah, I'm one of those sort of classics. On the outside, it looks kind of all together. But you don't see me driving home. We were talking about the private school that my son goes to, that I went to. That's like the perfect private school where everyone goes to Yale. And you didn't see me driving home from the private school, stopping at 7-Eleven to get the Ben & Jerry's and the Reese's Buttercups, and then pulling over to the dingy park to eat it all and then throw up in the bathroom. Like that was sort of like the undercurrent that sort of kept me going in this outer world of success. And that will work for, a while, but eventually the undertow will take you under. There's this myth of Persephone. Did you read the myth of Persephone? Mm-hmm. I always love this myth.
Think so.
It's a Greek myth where Persephone was this goddess that in Greek mythology, she's the reason why we have spring. And it's because Hades went and grabbed her and pulled her into the underworld. And then her father, I think was Zeus, made a deal with Hades to pull her out for 6 months of the year. So for 6 months of the year, we have spring, and then 6 months of the year, we have winter. And I always related to that myth of like, yeah, but there's this whole underworld about me and that's sort of this like dark, dingy aspect of me that actually now I understand is part of my genius. It's part of my like if I find an addict in my practice, if I have someone that has an addiction, I'm like, I get you. Mm. There's something about that genius quality that is actually could be also your strength, sort of the shadow side of it. So I have a little bit of Persephone in me, both sides.
And just out of curiosity, normal things, transitioning as a teenage girl is very difficult for a lot of people. Was it the need to feel like the pressure to be perfect? Was it the outlet from the high achieving? Like, did somebody make one remark to you when you were 11?
I love this question because this is what I ran a treatment center for disordered eating and eating disorders. And this was what the parents would always ask. They'd be like, what is the thing? Well, it's never one thing. It's like a whole, I used to draw a big chart of like a pie. Yeah. And it had all these slices to it and be like, well, there's like your biological predisposition towards anxiety, sensitivity, and perfectionism. You kind of came into this world sort of like there's Porsches and there's Volvos. You're a little more Porsche energy, like a little bit throws you off. It's not a bad thing, but put in the wrong context of a private school, early childhood trauma, a lot of changes happening, this social group, and everyone has their combination of inner world stuff, outer world stuff that becomes sort of the material from which something shows up. For me, it was disordered eating, but I'm one half step away from like meth addict and then one half step away from OCD. Mm-hmm. And what we're understanding now in clinical psychology is that it's less about that, like what diagnosis you fit into, and more about what are the like processes, the inner ways of relating to the world that we share that are problematic. So I have a sticky mind. My mind tends to get attached to thoughts. I'm a rule following kind of mind. And in certain contexts, that can be really beneficial. That can get you your PhD. In other contexts, it can be really problematic. You follow all the rules of society and what a young woman is supposed to look like and do. Yeah. And, before I became bulimic, I was anorexic. So like I followed those rules to the nth degree. I was the perfect anorexic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then I found it pretty amazing that then you end up being in a field where you're helping and studying bulimia while still trying to wrestle that to the ground yourself.
Yeah.
It's
dark. When I remember driving away in the U-Haul with my husband. We went to University of Colorado. We were in Santa Barbara, and we had our black lab in the middle. I had my partner, and I was like off to save the world. I wanted to help people in the way that I had been helped, because people had saved my life, right? And this is any therapist that you meet, do not assume, it's like classic. Yeah. So we got there, and I was in this PhD program studying, researching eating disorders with this well-known psychologist. And it did not take long before I was on the clinical wing. And then I'm smart, like, don't throw up on the clinical wing. I'd go up to the cognitive wing and I would purge. And then I'd come down and be running treatment outcome studies, like full on, randomized controlled trials for people with bulimia. And I remember driving home, it was like midway through my first year, and I looked in that rearview mirror and I saw the bags under my eyes, the swollen glands. I looked in the mirror, and all of a sudden I saw my client's face. It was like, we are the same. And what am I doing? And I grabbed all my stuff. It's always the Reese's Buttercups. I don't know what it is. Like, Sour Patch Kids, don't do it for me. Reese's Buttercups. So I grabbed all my stuff, like my binge foods, and I went, and my sweet, loving husband, and I'm like, take it, and I need out. Yeah. And at the time, I thought it was just like, bail, like, get out of here. This is not healthy for me. And what I figured out over time is that actually that's the place I need to be, but I need to be in it in a different way. So I found my way back and was able to complete the program. But it was like a massive surrendering of self, of ego, because it takes a lot to get into these programs. And then there's like a radical honesty with myself. Like, I had to see myself first.
Yeah. How did you know where would be the place for you? Because I thought about this when I, heard the story. And then the other thing is, I really wondered what kind of impact your husband had on the ability to do that. Because what if you had a different partner who had talked you into, no, wait a second, you're going to ruin your future if you split out of this.
My husband, I met him in yoga class. It was like back in the day when it was like Gold's Gym. Like, nobody was doing yoga. Yeah. And nobody was doing yoga. You didn't go to yoga in Lululemon when we started doing yoga. It was like you go in your sweatsuit.
It wasn't stylish.
It was not stylish, and you don't go there to meet someone. And so I met him, and we were in this yoga class with this chiropractor. It's kind of like yoga for old people kind of class. This chiropractor led it, and Wanda B. And I was partnered with somebody that was the wrong size for me, and she was doing partner yoga, and she grabbed him and she pulled him over, and we partnered up, and I was in my sweats, and I was kind of a mess, and I was not doing well at that point in my life, and that's how we kind of met. So he kind of got me not at my peak, let's just say that, and it was really good that that's how we met, because it was an entry point into, this is who I am, this is what you get. Mm-hmm. He got me as I was. And so because we started that way, that's sort of how we've always been. And I think that's how he felt, like that's who he fell in love with. And I am so grateful and lucky and blessed to have him as my partner for life, because he does not expect or want me to destroy myself for some kind of achievement out there. He just wants us to be us. So he was and has always been a refuge for me, where I know that I can be honest with him. He's pretty even. His genius is being even. Mm-hmm. So if I'm really low, he doesn't go low with me. If I'm really high, he will not go high with me either, which is frustrating, because I want him to I can have big emotions and get excited. He's just even. And so I think our geniuses are a good match for each other. Yeah.
So when you decided that you needed to make a change, share where you went and what you did.
Well, we were in Boulder, Colorado, which is like the mecca for all spirituality. And up the road from us was this ashram called El Dorado Mountain Ashram. And I remember the first thing that happened there. So I'm like, I'm going to go to an ashram. I'm going to be a yoga instructor. I'm like, F this whole academic career. And I was going to this ashram, and then I also worked in a school, like an alternative school for kids that were struggling. So these were two really good places for me to be. But I remember my first teacher there, her name was Ananda, which means bliss. Mm-hmm. And she worked at Home Depot during the day. And so she was like solid. She was big and solid when she was
lifting lumber.
Yeah, she like lifted lumber. So you should see her in warrior pose. I mean, she was, you could not knock this woman over, and you could do little to impress her. And I'm really good at I'm trying to impress, right? And so I go in, and I'm getting out of this PhD program, and I'm like, Ananda, give me the Sanskrit chant, because you used to do something called sadhana, or you still do something called sadhana, which is a 40-day practice, and I was in it for the 40-day practice. Give me a Sanskrit, give me a mantra. And she looked at me and said, I have the perfect mantra for you. And I was very excited because I thought it was going to be very long and it would take me 40 days and be very impressive. You say it silently to yourself. You don't say it to anyone. You breathe in hum and you breathe out sa. And you do it 108 times on this little mala, this little rosewood. And that's it. Do that for 40 days. And what it means is I am that. Sort of like I'm kind of nothing. I'm not all that. I'm not better than. I'm not less than. I just am. So I chanted that for 40 days of I am. And it opened up something for me because was so caught into the world of academia and trying to become a somebody and prove myself, which that ladder is a never-ending ladder. Now you're at the top of the top of the top, and there's always someone more at the top. And the sacrifice you will make to get higher. So Ananda brought me back to earth and was like, you are. That's it.
You talk about that in your book, where I actually really love this idea. It made me think that I would like to do this, where it's you have people who will sit across from each other and ask, well, who are you? And you answer, and I might be like, well, I'm a mother, or I'm a wife, or I'm a business person. And then as you go, I don't know how long, what do they do it for 20 minutes or something? Yeah. And then by the end, it's like, I'm silly, I'm loving, I'm scared, and I was like, oh, that's so interesting if we could ask ourselves. And you have exercises where it's like, hey, just write it down, ask yourself that 24 times or whatever you said it was, and see how much the answer changes. It's so interesting as you get older, where you spend your youth trying to develop who you are. Right. What are my gifts? What can I do to survive, make a living? Then you get a little older, you go, what could I contribute? And then as you get, I'm finding as I get older, it's like, yes, and how could I be none of those things? And almost try to be an observer, just even if I can get it done 30 seconds a day. If I could actually do that once in a blue moon, I think I have a win.
Yeah. So the danger of putting something after that I am, and why we do that exercise, is that it boxes you into something.
Yeah.
And once you have that, I am a PhD student, gosh, you will keep being bulimic and be just to hold on to the PhD student thing. You got to drop that. Or I'm in a relationship, and you will hold on to that for dear life. I am married, even if your marriage is destroying you. Yeah. And so there's a flexibility with being able to be and see that you are many things in many contexts. And if you just put a comma sometimes after it, then you have a little bit more freedom.
I love the sometimes.
I am sometimes. And then we can do it with other people too, because we do the same thing with others. We say, you are this, you are that, you are that. And we categorize people based on limited information. We do not see the complexity of humans, or how you're this sometimes, but in this context, you're that, in this context, you're that. And if you really boil it down, you just are. We're just all human beings. I mean, this is the love concept. We all can boil it down to say, I'm love. That would be a nice thing to put after the I am. But the boxes that we put ourselves in, or we put other people in, keep us separate. They keep us limited, and they do not allow the field of possibility for whatever is going to arise. I'm a gardener, and I have these garden beds, and no matter what I plant, there's always some kind of volunteer. It's like, why is the tomato in the sweet pea bed? And I'm tempted to pull the tomato out. But if you let that tomato grow, it's going to be the strongest plant, because it was in the field of possibility. It chose to be there. And we all have that field of possibility, but we end up pulling out parts of ourselves because we say, oh, that doesn't fit my box of who I am.
Again, this book has a lot of very powerful tools in it. But for me, this was one of the more powerful because it's something that we all do, and the fact that we do it to each other. I mean, if we can stop doing it to ourselves, that'd be amazing. But also, I just see this even being in a marriage or having young adult children now, where I have to really put an effort to sort of saying, okay, I'll try to receive this person as they show up today. It's virtually, impossible. And sometimes there's like the good traits. Like there's things about, I'll use Laird as an example. He has a lot of very good traits. And so maybe there's a part of me that will not assume that they're going to be there, but they're also something that you lean on. But it's weirdly like, how could I give you the benefit of the doubt for the good traits and then just kind of see everything else? Because maybe you learned something yesterday that you're going to make a small adjustment. I don't know what you're thinking. Mm-hmm. And the same for the kids, because they're changing so quickly that it's like I could assume maybe some of the good traits, even though I'm trying not to do that too. But it's almost like I'm putting that in the bank for you, because that gives me sort of this extra energy to be willing to say, well, let me see how it is.
Yeah. So you see the essence that's there and the possibility for that to show up. Sometimes it may not be showing up when he needs it. And then I sort of make this other argument in the book of that sometimes those, and I said good because in psychology we always watch out for words like good and bad. Yeah. Because it's a sometimes. Those are traits of Laird that, like the tomato seed, when planted in the right soil, just wow, Laird, your consistency is so phenomenal. It's why you are so, you have to have consistency to be an athlete, to be so physically strong, to all the things, right? To be in a marriage this long. We need some consistency here. Yeah. And sometimes consistency can become your problem if you get rigid in your consistency, or you don't put that consistency in places that it's called for. Yeah. And that's the concept around your genius becomes your problem. And for me, in thinking about how I've been able to embrace all of me is understanding that these aspects of who I am, things like being persistent or what sort of the sandbagger quality, those aspects of me are really great, and I have to watch them. I gotta watch it, because if I over-index on it or I use it in rigid ways, it can be really problematic. That can get you from 125 pounds to 72 pounds, and now you're in the hospital. And that's always around the corner for me. Even now? I am aware of it, because it may not be 72 pounds, but it may be something else that I'm restricting myself around, or I'm being sort of like hiding of this like shadow side around. And you gotta be conscious of these tendencies.
Tell me how that shows up. So the persistence and the ability to work harder than everybody, how by that getting away from you in your work, does that then create the opportunity for the shadow side to really...
Can I give you a recent example?
Yeah.
So this just happened like 3 weeks ago. Okay. I was brought in to do a leadership retreat for CEOs. And it was, 40 CEOs. They're bringing me in to Reagan Ranch. Mm-hmm. It's like a big deal. Yeah. Okay. It's like, do the Wise Effort retreat. And I'm all geared up. I have all these cool exercises for them that are like the I am exercise, another exercise where you kind of stare in each other's eyes and you realize that they are just like you in all these levels. So I'm ready to come in and do my thing in this very kind of experiential way. But I learn that the person who's coming, it's a 2-day retreat or 3-day retreat, the person who's coming in the day before is a Harvard, West Point grad, that they're flying in from Harvard, older than me, super academic guy, and he's coming in the day before. So what do? This is where my persistence gets away from me, because I go in and I rework my whole bio to like highlight my academic achievements. I'm like sending them my bio. I'm like, use this bio instead. I'm reworking my slides to try and make me look impressive. I want to beat him. Everything in my being now is I want to beat him. I'm coming in on day 2. I got to show him I got it. And what I lose what I lose is if I'm beating the Harvard guy, I'm not taking his material as a weaving that I could then potentially strengthen and weave through so they have this like beautiful conciliant experience, right? I'm also losing other aspects of me that could be beneficial. I'm different than this guy. I'm going to bring in something else. I don't need to be the Harvard guy or show that I can beat the Harvard guy. I'm going to come in as Diana. I got other stuff, right? And so I caught myself in that. This is how my genius becomes a problem, because I probably could beat him. I could if I like worked hard enough, and kind of, but then I end up losing to him because I actually have a friend it's a CEO that was in that group. And he said to me, this is like tough love. He said to me, Diana, when you're working so hard to be impressive, you're not that impressive.
Yeah.
And so it caught me, like that's how it can get away from all of us. So consistency can get away from you. Being the funny person in the group can get away from you. Being the warm welcomer, like we've all been to holidays where there's like the person who never sits down at the holiday meal because they're like, and like, sit down, have some Thanksgiving.
This podcast is brought to you by Ritual. I don't know about you, but just having habits, but even a better word is ritual, in our day-to-day lives is so important. I think most of us are busy and stressed out, and finding those rituals that would support us, let's say for better sleep and recovery, is so important. I don't know about you, but we're all, exercising and commuting, shuttling kids, and it does really impact the ability sometimes just to turn it off, switch it all off, and relax at the end of a long and tiring day. And I was wondering, maybe you have a routine already. Like for me, I like to lower the lights and just start to wind down, but also using things like Rituals Magnesium Plus puts your evening unwind center stage. It's got a blend of magnesium bisglycinate and an incredible combination tart cherry powder for mind and muscle relaxation. Ritual selected a bioavailable form of magnesium that's gentle on the stomach, and it's even clinically studied to support things like a stressful mind, helping that relax, even ease leg cramps during pregnancy, and provides PMS support. So if you've been interested, my listeners get early access to their Black Friday sale for 40% off your first month at ritual.com/Gabby. That's ritual.com/Gabby, ritual.com/Gabby for 40% off your first month. Don't miss out on their best sale of the season. And remember, these statements have not been evaluated by the FDA, and this product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. However, magnesium supports mind and muscle relaxation, and tart cherry helps ease mental fatigue, supports sleep, and supports muscle recovery. You likened it to, what was the instrument where it's like when to tighten the cords and loosen the cords?
The string, yeah.
Yeah, the string on there. And I also think that that's what is interesting about success, where it does two things. It can give you the confidence to go, you know what, I'm really going to show up to the best of my ability with who I am today. I'm going to trust that that is enough, because that's kind of what it is. Mm-hmm. But then the other side of the blade of, people get the pressure of, well, people are going to expect me to be a certain way because I've reached a certain level of success. And so I need to do that thing. And it's like, well, what does that mean?
Well, in the Wise Effort book, I talk about 3 things that send us off track. And I was caught in one of those 3 things. Mm-hmm. So the issue isn't that you have this quality. I mean, it's great. We have all of these qualities. It's how are you using that quality and why are you using it? One thing that can throw your genius energy off track is when you are stuck in a story. And that's what was happening for me. I was in a story about who this Harvard guy was. And then we have all these, the mind creates associations, right? So you just say the word Harvard and then all of a sudden you have like a whole, all I have to do is drop the word and you have this whole picture of what that means for him. He's smarter than me. He's better than me. He's going to come in strong. You can say the word West Point and you have all sorts of associations.
Big time.
Right? So that whole I am thing, right? I was putting him in a box and I was creating a story about his box and creating a story about me. And our story-making mind is dangerous because we believe it and we can let it push our energy around. We can let it move our behavior in ways that aren't loving or aligned with our values. And that's a problem. So that was one thing that was throwing me off track. Another thing that can throw your energy off track is when you're avoiding discomfort.
Yeah.
So you're anxious, and therefore you don't show up more as fully as you can possibly show up. You are anxious, and so you scramble, like you take too many notes, or maybe you don't even go. Like there's a part of us that we want to bail, right? And then the third one is we're holding too tight to something.
Yeah.
Holding too tight to proving ourselves, holding too tight to things staying the same. And those three things, when you're stuck in a story, when you're avoiding discomfort, or you're holding too tight, it takes your energy, it misdirects it, sends it off in directions that aren't really maybe where you want it to go. And so we have to spot that. And that's what I was able to do with that situation, because it's so familiar to me. I know my patterning enough now that I'm like, oh, I'm in it. Which is part of wise effort. Like, it's not that you ever fully get out of your pattern.
We don't.
Yeah.
Because then you kind of work your way out of something, and then you realize, oh, I have this other little thing, and I never noticed because the other thing was so much bigger.
Yeah.
So I think there's always something that, or we're new. You know, you get older, you change jobs, your children move out. Like you have different things that you're going to contend with.
Yeah.
That's why I think the practice is so important. You said something about you're being able to find your center more now in the groundlessness. And I thought, oh yeah, because we think we're supposed to be. I mean, I love the idea of homeostasis. Like if people say, what am I striving for? It's like there's a part of me, if my wingtips move one way or the other, I'm very much a person who's going to level out. That is my like go-to, which has its good and bad. But that if you could find your center, when you jump to hit a volleyball, your neck becomes your core because your feet are off the ground. So you have to brace your neck to hold your head because you're up in the air and you're going to hit something. And so I thought I thought of that as the analogy, because it's like you're saying, hey, I'm in my groundlessness. That's life. It's, the unknown. And yet finding that center within kind of all the feeling, not upside down, but it's this kind of moving earth that we're on called life. I know your dad was a Buddhist, and so maybe there was conversations around some of that.
My dad was a Buddhist, but my dad was also a bankruptcy lawyer.
I know. It's so intense.
So a bankruptcy lawyer?
Yeah.
I mean, means like he would like get paid in other people's stuff that he didn't really, that came with a loan, that came with a debt. So he'd like, remember one day he brought home a pony. And he's like, we have a pony, kids, but guess what? We have to sell the pony.
Yeah.
He drove up in a Rolls Royce once. We have a Rolls Royce, kids.
Is that for real?
For real. It was parked outside our little cul-de-sac.
So that's a lot of groundlessness if you think about it.
We got to sell the Rolls Royce. We moved into this house. It was like Miami Vice. It had an elevator. It had a pool phone that connected to the tennis court phone. I'm not kidding you. But we can only stay here for a few months, kids, because the house has all this debt now. He only gets, the percentage that he's owed. So yeah, my dad was Buddhist, but my dad was also a bankruptcy lawyer. So I learned during that whole experience, like anything that you think that you got, a pony or a house or a Rolls Royce, everything you love, you will lose. This is one of the sort of tenets of life. Everything, your body, your career, your kids are going to move out. Yeah. And so there's actually a Zen koan about this, which is like the rug is pulled out from under you, and then the floor is pulled out from under that rug, and what's left? And we have to learn how to be with the groundlessness of life. And if you can learn that, if you can find your center when everything is spinning and everything's being pulled out from you, then you actually have something you can operate from. And I find that people that are sports athletes, embodied people, kind of get that, because we know that it's like all wobbly, right? And we can like find our center, our focus. You got like my kids play basketball, and there's all the people that are like trying to do your free throw shot, and there's all like those wiggly things, and you got to like keep your focus, right? So there's many metaphors to this, but it's one of the key skills, I think, in life, is not trying to create ground, not trying to stabilize everything around you, but learn how to be in the instability, the constant change.
And you talk a lot about curiosity, right? Be curious, be open, and be focused. But curiosity is another word that comes up over and over and over about how powerful just being curious is. Mm-hmm. When you have a situation, maybe with even a patient or your partner or your children, if you're not being curious, do you have any trick to sliding into curiosity?
Well, I think we want to look at first, why are we not being curious? And it's usually one of those three things. Because we've already developed a story. So therefore, I don't need to ask any questions.
Oh, I know.
I already know. I already have my story about you. You know, someone comes sitting across from me in my office and they're telling me about something. I already have my story, my judgment, my partner's. I have my story about him and my kids. Or maybe we're avoiding the discomfort of curiosity, because to be curious means to not know.
Yeah.
To enter into that unknown groundlessness. And also to be curious means to open the door to the possibility that somebody may offer you something that's uncomfortable. You know, I'm asking somebody in my space, in my office, about a struggle they're having, whether it's, you know, a struggle with cancer, or a struggle in their marriage, or their struggle with their kids, or a struggle that's related to their trauma. We may go to some places that are uncomfortable. And that's something we also need to learn how to be with, is not rescue people from their discomfort by not asking a question. Grief is a classic one. People who are going through grief actually want you to talk about their loved one who's died. Sometimes, not everyone, but some of them do.
Yeah.
And we don't ask because we're protecting them from feeling bad, as if that person is not on their mind all the time, or their breakup, as if that person is not on their mind all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Or the affair, as if that's not on their mind all the time.
Yeah.
So curiosity means, hey, look, I'm willing to go there with you. I'm willing to go there into the dark, into the Reese's Buttercups and the park and the, you know, that whole story.
Yeah.
What was that like for you? Because if you're truly curious, you would ask me more questions. You'd be like, hey, you're purging at the park.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, there's like unhoused people in there. This is dark. And you're curious, but it's not just deprivation curiosity, which is, I want to know because I need to get the information.
No, I get
on your
it.
Affair.
No.
It's interest curiosity. Like, what's behind that?
Yeah.
And when I have clients in my office and I come at it from this like super curious space, it is like they are being watered. It is like someone is actually interested in me.
In the real feelings.
In the real feelings, yeah.
Do you ask permission sometimes? Like I do that with my girls. Maybe not like if they're going through a hardship, but sometimes I'll say, are you interested in talking about this? Could I ask you questions? Because sometimes I think because we don't know, and grief is a big one. I've had friends who I had a friend in the last 2 years who lost a husband, and a friend who lost a child, a young child. And it is like this thing of using curiosity also actually to hold space, like you said, in this genuine way. You're not trying to dig at someone. You're trying to give them a space that they can really share with you what they're going on. And once you can get comfortable with that, it does get easier.
Yeah, so asking permission, sometimes I'll say, do you want me to ask you questions? Do you want to just talk about it?
Yeah. That's good.
What is it that you are wanting from me? Do you want me just to hold space?
Yeah.
And I really do think the first place that we get curious is with our own selves. That we have stories about our own selves. We have things that we're avoiding looking at in our own selves. We have things that we're holding too tight on in our own selves. And we start with just practicing curiosity with yourself. And then when you do that, then you'll start to feel it. Like, this is what it's like to be in the realm of curiosity. Curiosity is like a big hot topic in psychology right now. And there's actually, its relative is openness. So for those of you that want the trends, openness is the new mindfulness. Mindfulness is out.
Mindfulness is out. We're into openness.
We're now into openness.
Let's go. Okay.
I was just interviewing this researcher at Jonathan Schooler, who's at UCSB, and he's changing the name of his center from the center of mindfulness to the center of openness.
Is that for real?
It's for real.
Sure.
But in part because openness, which is it's a It's a personality trait. So if you look at personality profiles and in Wise Effort, I talk about your personality as part of your genius, right? So openness, the being open to adventure, being open to new ideas, being open to feeling is associated with all sorts of things. It's associated with longevity. You live longer if you are more open. It's associated with actually caring more for other people, but like being invested in caring. It's also associated with creativity. Openness is a super useful thing. And it's not just the personality trait of some of us are born and temperament-wise are a little bit more open. I was like not the kid that wanted to try all the board sports because you might fall. It's a little bit closed.
That's just maybe a little cautious.
A little cautious, yeah.
Yeah, but you're open in a lot of other ways.
I'm open in other ways, but I've worked on it. But we can develop our openness. And curiosity is the skill that helps us develop our openness. So the more curious we are, the more open we can become.
Yeah. This podcast is brought to you by Tushy. So I don't know, have you ever heard about the Tushy Bidet? I have. I was sent one a while ago and put it into another home. I haven't been using one in a while because I haven't been there. Well, I had a Tushy delivered a few weeks ago, and I have to tell you, it really is a game changer. The installation, very easy, takes 10 minutes tops, and it fits perfectly with the bathroom vibe that I already have going. It's got a sleek design, a soft closed seat. Everything just feels modern and luxurious. But the real game changer is using it. There's nothing like the clean, fresh feeling of Tushy compared to traditional toilet paper. I was honestly blown away, and I've forgotten about it, and now I'm back to using it. It's better, cleaner, and easier than you would expect. It's the kind of everyday indulgence that makes you wonder, hey, how did I live without it? I mean, this is a common practice in Europe, and I think we're a little slower to this game. Tushy is the everyday luxury bidet that transforms your routine. So with 2 separate nozzles, there's one for the front and there's one for rear cleaning, a gentle air dryer, yes, that's right, and a soft closed seat. It's practical decadence. Over half the people who make the switch, they have a lot of positive benefits. So you can even soothe hemorrhoids, 9 out of 10 reduce itching, and you use up to 80% less toilet paper. That's right, good for the environment. No clogged toilets, no wasted money, just fresh, clean results every single time. And the best part, it installs easily on your existing toilet, so you don't have to go out and get a different toilet. You don't need a plumber, and it only uses fresh water to protect your natural skin barrier. So remember, daily decadence, practical benefits, zero hassle. So I know that it might be unusual, but it's so easy to try. And for a limited time, our listeners get 10% off their first bidet order when you use the code Gabby10, Gabby10 at checkout. So all you have to do is head to hellotushy.com and use the code Gabby10 at checkout. That's HELLOTUSHY.com. Don't forget to use the code Gabby10. Your bathroom, your rules, and your bottom will thank you. I want to just talk about some of the ideas about wise effort. You know, you talk about your values in relationship to your genius. And then there's just a lot of framework about, you know, how your genius, where it works and where it doesn't. So maybe we can just break the concept down of wise effort.
Wise effort, the concept is about energy use. And I have long been interested in energy use. What makes people tick? I feel energy from other people. Energy is real. It may sound super woo-woo, but if you go down to any science that there is a science of energy, right? So how does a surfer move through a wave? It's through kinetic energy and potential energy and working with the energy of the wave, right? So that is about energy use. When you are in the airport and you are feeling stressed, and there's other people in line and around you and they're feeling stressed, they're exchanging energy through a form called neuroception, which is we're picking up on the energy of other people's body posture, their tone of voice, their eyes, right? Then we have our own we have like energy down to the mitochondria of a cell, right? So it's all about mitochondria right now. It's the other new thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's about the
Openness
mitochondria.
And mitochondria.
Yeah, right? So just drop those words into your conversation. You'll sound like you know what you're talking about. So mitochondria, you know, down to the energy of our cell, right? The food that we eat is energy. Energy is everything.
Yeah.
Energy is everything. Now, for me as a psychologist, I am interested in how are we using that? When I am at the airport, what type of energy am I transmitting to other people? What type of energy am I allowing in? Am I looking down or am I looking up? And am I receiving the potential for kind energy to come my way? You were sharing that story about the kind woman at the airport who gave you a hug, and that can shift everything.
Yeah.
Everything. So it's still, there's a residue of the woman at the airport who gave you a hug. Today, it's still resonating with you so much that you told me about it, like in our first 15 minutes of talking. I'm like, wow, that's all we need to do is give a stranger a hug, and it can transform 24 hours of their life.
Yeah.
That's energy. So with Wise Effort, we get curious about what is our genius energy? What is the unique thing about us that we have to offer? The strengths, the talents, the emotional intelligence, the interests, the things that like when we're in them, we just like can't stop talking about it and being in it, and we feel like we're in flow. So I use a lot of psychological research to identify your genius energy. We get curious about that. We get curious about what throws our energy off track. We get curious about, okay, if you wanted to point your energy somewhere, where would you want to point it? That's your values.
Yeah.
I don't want to point it towards beating out the Harvard guy. I actually want to point it towards helping leaders become better leaders. If our leaders had wiser efforts, our world would be a better place. That's why I like working with leaders, because they have big impact.
Yeah.
I want them to align their energy. So that's the first part of the book, is about getting curious about your energy, how you're using it, how you're misusing it, where you want to use it. And then the next part of the book, the open up part, is, okay, now we know you want to use it this way, but that means you're going to need to open some stuff up. Openness is the new mindfulness. So it's opening up to feeling uncomfortable feelings, opening up your mind, opening up your sense of self. You tapped into the I am stuff at the beginning. Like, I like that part of the book when you're like doing the I am this, I am not
because
that.
It's so important.
Yeah. And that's because you are naturally tapped into some of the wisdom teachings. That's opening up the sense of self to wisdom. That's a wise self. Mm-hmm. And then opening up to change. And then finally, at the end of the book, I help people, guide them through focusing their energy at work and creativity and their relationships and sort of what that looks like. Yeah. So that's the whole method.
You talk about this. It's one thing when you say the word genius, everyone thinks IQ. There's even an analogy of somebody who, and you mentioned it earlier, like they throw a holiday, and it's like, I think there's 7 or 8 types of, in one category, genius, right? You have a physical athlete, people who are empathetic, like all these different types. So I think we don't give enough credit to these nuanced types of genius that people will have, they possess, and they don't give it any value, and they don't know how to kind of use it in their life. So you break this down, which I really appreciate, but also there's conversations about this will give people an opportunity to go, well, wait a second, what do I want to do? Because a lot of people are walking around going, I don't even know what I'm fired up to do. You know, we're always like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And they don't know. They don't have a specific thing. And I believe that this Wise Effort book can create an environment for people to ask enough questions in all these different areas, their genius, their value, what they like to be doing, what they're excited, to kind of tap into some of this. I believe when we spend our time and energy doing things that are so true to who we are, that so many other things are made easier.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us could pause and ask ourselves, what am I wasting my genius on?
Yes.
Like, do I want to waste my genius on this?
And who, by the way?
And that, and who, and in this way. And then we can also ask ourselves, where am I not bringing my genius to the table that needs it? And one of the things that I see about you is you see the genius. I mean, any one of the people that are listening to this or watching this could tell you Gabby Reece's genius is, because it's not just one. Right? Like embodiment, leadership, there's like a calm confidence to you. There's a discipline. I think that's one of your geniuses. You have like this sort of like discipline to you. Okay, given all of that, those are great tools, great things, aspects of you that are uniquely you, that probably developed out of hardship, that developed out of your own sort of like unique je ne sais quoi, like what you were born with, that developed out of life experience and training, all the reasons why we develop our geniuses. Now, what are the banks of the river to which you want to direct that energy? And so we see you directing it towards your values. We see you directing it as you talk about your parenting and your loving relationship, how you use your genius in those places. We see you directing it in your leadership. We see you directing it on the podcast and the types of people you have on and the types of conversations that you bring into play. Your genius, that flow of energy, is intentional. And so, yes, we can all have geniuses, but those geniuses could be misdirected or could go underground, and that would be a loss. And if everyone could figure out what their many geniuses are and be open to all the possibility that this is a genius too. Like that thing that people told you was too much when you were a kid, it's not too much, it's you. And so what if you were to take that you and direct it and put it in the places that matter to you? If we were all doing that, then the world would be a better place. We'd be hugging people at the airport like you got the hug yesterday. So that's what I'm interested in, and I see it in every single client that comes in and they tell me all about their problems. You know, the problem is different every week. This week it's the mother-in-law. Next week it's not enough money. They tell me all the problems, and I see in them, I'm like, but I see your genius. Like I can see it in you.
Tap into that.
Let's tap into that.
I want to just focus. You're talking the difference between compassion and empathy. And I feel like this is a really important distinction for people because I mentioned earlier, like I am sensitive. I can feel people's energy, but I don't need to wear their problems as my own. But I have a daughter specifically who's had to learn to not be, she's so empathetic that also it was not good for her. So maybe you could just talk about this because I think a lot of people think, oh, well, in order for me to be a good, I put that in quotes, person or a kind person, I need to feel your problem like my own. And you make a very nice distinction between compassion and empathy.
So this distinction comes both from contemplative teaching and from psychology, that empathy is exactly what you're saying, where like you are feeling everything that the other person is feeling as if there is no separation. And it's actually really problematic. So if you had a therapist that was just sitting in empathy and all of a sudden you're crying and they just are crying and they're like sobbing on the couch, we wouldn't go back to that person. It's actually not helpful to have somebody that's overly empathetic, right? Because they don't have their own center in the groundlessness, right, that you're experiencing. So we've heard the term compassion fatigue, and I think it's a term that actually is misnomered. It should be empathy fatigue. Compassion has these two qualities to it, which is one is being able to feel for someone, with someone, but the other quality is the ability to be there, to be of support and to help. And if you are underwater in somebody's emotions, you are not helpful. It's like you're both in the deep end of the pool and you're grabbing onto each other and you're drowning. You don't want that. So compassion is the capacity to perspective take. I always use this analogy of one eye out, one eye in. I learned this a long time ago when I was leading, I was the director of a treatment center, because I had to have one eye in on my, like, what is my own center, my own grounding, what's happening inside my body, my own interoceptive awareness of my own being. And then one eye out, what's happening for the other person. I've been doing this the whole time with Gabby, Reece. I have one eye in. How am I doing in here, Diana? Can I feel my feet on the floor? Am I sucking it in and holding my breath, or can I allow my breath to go in my lower belly so that I'm transmitting to my own body a sense of calm and centeredness? What's happening for Gabby? Is she tracking? Is she giving me signals that she's okay? And that is a skill. And that's, in some ways, that's the foundation of compassion, because from there you can be helpful.
Yeah.
If you are a parent or a partner or a therapist or a teacher or whatever, and you're stuck in empathy, it'll take you only so far.
Yeah. And I feel like inevitably somehow they make it about them at the end too.
Oh yeah.
There's some weird thing,
it's a martyr thing.
Yeah, right. It gets a little weird. As a parent, it is interesting though, because I think for a second when you're in that position of compassion, you could almost feel guilty or shame that you don't feel quite as bad as you think you should.
Yeah.
And so there within is such an interesting
story.
Yeah. Because I have that because I am so analytical. I'm always trying to make sure that I'm being compassionate enough, even though I can feel it. And so it was always like, well, am I feeling it enough? But when I stop doing all that and I'm just there for somebody, I feel the way I need to feel.
Yeah. So the interesting about compassion from evolutionary kind of psychology research is that Paul Gilbert, who's in the UK, the Compassionate Mind Foundation, he talks about these 3 kind of like biologically driven systems. One system is threat, and threat may lead us into empathy. Like, oh no, something bad is going to happen to you. Is something bad going to happen to me?
Yeah.
I work with clients who have cancer. And one of the things that is really frustrating if you have cancer is if you tell someone that you have cancer and then they start asking you all these questions as if, how did you get cancer? Am I going to get cancer? Right?
Oh,
so they're kind of like showing empathy, but what they're really doing is like, oh no, am I going to get cancer? Right? So that's no bueno, right?
No.
So that's the threat system. Another system is the drive system, which is, I just want to fix it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, like all the statements will like, have you tried this? I did this with my CEOs. I actually had them have a conversation and every single answer in their pair work had to start with, have you tried? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? That's not compassion.
No.
Right? The third system is the true compassion system, which is our bonding system, our collaboration, our working together, our staying open, our ability to feel but not be completely underwater in something. And we are biologically driven to have a compassion system because humans do better in groups than alone. So we need to have a compassion system as well. It is a natural part of the human condition for us to be compassionate. So remember
Just do that.
That we have it
and it's
in our
okay
bodies.
if it's quiet.
Yeah, it's okay if it's quiet. We have it. It is your presence that matters the most. Anything you say doesn't matter. There are things that you can say that will make it worse. But have you tried? The other one I did with the CEOs, I had them do these. So basically what I did is I set these CEOs.
What would you say to them? What did they say to the people instead of like something's not working? They go, did you try this? And it was probably some Captain Obvious stuff. Yeah. What would be the thing you would ask? Share with me all of the things you've done. Like what would be the right thing to say?
Tell me more what it's like for you. What are the things that you're exploring?
Okay.
What are the hardest parts? What are the not so hard parts?
Okay.
When you are your best, what are you doing? When you're not feeling so great about how you're responding, what are you doing? If you were your wisest version of you, what would you be doing? Right? So asking questions, basically.
Yeah.
So the have you tried was one thing that I had.
What's the other no-no?
The other no-no. Here's the other one I had them do, which also feels really terrible.
What?
Which is when someone is telling you their story and you respond with every sentence begins with at least. So someone's telling you, about their child that's having a really hard time at college and they want to come home. Well, at least your kid is in college. Well, at least your kid is going to a great school.
Yeah.
Well, at least she's really, really, really resilient. That kind of at leasting is so unhelpful and invalidating and makes people recoil because you're not getting it.
You're not getting it. Yeah.
So the two no-nos are have you tried, which is the fixer, and the at least, which is the sort of positive optimizer. The most helpful response is just to be curious and open. An early mentor of mine, who's one of the founders of ACT, Kelly Wilson, used to describe that when you're sitting across the way from someone in your therapy room, see them as a sunset, not as a problem to be solved, and just ask questions about whatever color is arising. And now it's this, and what's that like, and what's that like, and you just see them as that.
Yeah.
And it feels really good when somebody sees you as a sunset. It feels really bad when someone sees you as a problem to be solved.
Yeah. There was another differentiating concept that you talked about that I also just wanted you to expand upon about probability versus possibility. You were talking about this concept and I just thought it was really beautiful.
This again comes from Kelly Wilson, who was my mentor early on, where the story of Kelly Wilson was that he was struggled with heroin and alcohol and all sorts of things, and somehow found his way to sobriety and creating this approach called ACT. But along the way, he would sort of teach this concept that sometimes our probabilities are quite low. Anorexia and opiate addiction have the lowest probability of success and the highest rates of death. So
is this the brain chemistry part for these two things? Like how the brain chemistry is impacted?
With anorexia, it's something called an egosyntonic disorder, which means it actually feels really good to be anorexic. You feel incredibly powerful. You have complete distortion of yourself and the world. And you feel like you're kind of winning at everything, even though you're losing at everything. And people kind of see it in you, but you don't see it in yourself. It becomes part of your identity. And because it's so, it actually has such a high risk of death associated with it. And it's also very biological. There's a 50% concordance rate of anorexia, which means like if you have a twin who's anorexic, you're 50% likely to have anorexia as well. So it's got a lot of genetic load to it. So the probability is quite low. And if you bank on probabilities, the probability is actually quite low that you'll be in a marriage this long.
Yeah.
So about 50% of people are divorced, and to be in a happy or healthy or still growing marriage is even lower. Like maybe there's a lot of people that are together, but we're just like, we're kind of in it. So we'll stay in it. Why bother? It's too hard to get out of it.
When I think about it, I'm like, why bother?
Oh, yeah. Why bother?
Why bother?
Also, there's why bother, and there's also, and also I'm in it. Like this is there's good stuff here.
No,
like,
but I mean, like if they're in it and they don't want to be in it or not in it, it's like be in it and do your best to like make it kind of great. Like make it. What could you do to be the things that you're hoping would be part of the relationship, but just to go along.
Yeah, right. Because some people believe the probability is low that anything could be different than what it is. So if you believe in probabilities, you're gonna stay stuck. And the other option is to believe in possibilities. So that field of the open field of possibility that I was talking about, the possibility that something could be radically different. And not only that, what I see in people, things could be radically different instantly. You could, in 1 minute, hate your partner, and in the next minute having sex with your partner. How did that happen? Right?
I hear a lot of stories about that energy.
You haven't had that energy with your partner where you like get in a good fight and then you're in having good sex? Like that's like part of like the best sex comes out of the worst fight.
I need to fight more with Laird
you need more fights.
No, you know why? Yeah. Because we both really work hard at being peaceful because I wouldn't say we're mean people, but we're just brutal. And so we stay away from that. Yeah. No, because it's not a violence. It's not a yelling. It's never losing control. It's not that. Yeah. It's in this weird independence that we both have. It's just better for us in our dynamics that things don't escalate. Yeah. Plus, weirdly, I know this sounds weird, but when you practice enough of that distance, it's hard to get hysterical. Yeah. Because you're like, yo, come on. What are we talking about? I love you. We're going to work it out. So you just get to work. Yeah. Versus, it's like nobody does the theater. Yeah. Because it's not really worth it. You just go, really?
A little theater can be fun in a relationship. You can be a little irrational for a little bit, but it's not necessarily like a fight of
no, I think of course you hear about that.
But to
turn it.
See that you could maybe you're not in a fight with your partner having sex with your partner, but for in the morning you can look at them and be like, oh, 100. I'm so not into you. You're driving me nuts. And things can turn around and you can be that way about yourself, right? Yes. There are so many more possibilities than we give ourselves credit for, even possibilities for our life that we give ourselves credit for, because we're in the probability range and the probability will always be smaller than the possibility. So that's part of the opening up to possibility for yourself and opening up to possibility for others, for your kids, for, people at the airport, for whatever, someone with a different political party than you. Yeah. Possibility. Yeah. Give it some possibility.
I just thought it was really beautiful, just that reminder. Because we will even accept it for another person. Well, they can do that or whatever. And it's like, I have a friend, Darren O'Lean, and I remember he used to say, well, what else is possible? And I thought, oh, God, that's such a good question. And I think it's important when you're young because life is scary. And I think it's important as you get older because you have so much more time to do so many other things that to keep asking yourself like, hey, what else is possible? But using the conversation that you've created in Wise Effort to go, well, like, what are my geniuses and my values so that I can let those things lead me into that question, I think is so important. So Diana, I got to just say one last thing to you before we wrap this up. So the last time I saw you, when you walked in today, I thought, oh, she's different than she was then. So I want you to know that, even though this interview is only about you, whatever you've been doing, you feel a little mightier and a little more forward than the last time I saw you. So I don't know what you're up to. I don't know if you're happy about this book being done and sort of standing behind it or what have you. But I think talking about that possibility, I just see a difference in whatever short period of time since the last time I saw you. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Can I say why? I think?
Yeah.
So I don't think it has anything to do with the book or anything have to do with me being a different person. I think it has to do with the context you created. So the energetic exchange that you had with me after our last meeting.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly you don't remember the words that people say, but you remember how they made you feel. Mm-hmm. There was an injection from you, a direct, energetic injection into me of Diana, I see you, and you got this.
Yeah.
And that made me feel like I could be more me and myself.
It's funny how we soften, and this is more female than male, I think.
Yes.
We soften to make everybody else feel better. When you came in today, it was just like, hey, what's up? And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. And so I think it's really important, and that's just being then more of who you are.
Yeah. This is the part where I think we co-create things like that.
Yeah.
It's not like Diana went off and she did something and she came back and she changed. It was that Gabby Reece and your environment created conditions for me to be more of who I am.
That's all I really want to do for people.
Yeah.
I was having breakfast yesterday with my family, and we were in New York, and a dear friend of ours, and he said, just if we could just be a net positive, and this is a 24-year-old young man, and he goes, just net positive. And I want to do that, so much. All right. Is there any last invitation that you would like to give to people? If I forgot something, the book is Wise Effort. I have it on Audible and the physical copy. It's like a workbook as well. But is there an invitation? Did I miss a point that was so important to you that you wanted to bring up?
No, I think that last point that you made about being a net positive is a good one for us to leave on, of when you can identify what you have to offer, mm-hmm. and you offer it freely to be a net positive for this world. Here's the clincher. The net positive will come back to you. It's regenerative.
Yeah.
So you send it out, you will get it back, guaranteed. And that's a different type of energetic exchange than going and trying to grab at it and make it happen. And so, that's a good suggestion. Be a net positive.
Remind people all the places they can find you.
wiseeffort.com is the best place. You can find me at Diana Hill, drdianahill.com too, but Wise Effort's easier to remember.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a big deal. Thanks, everyone. This podcast has been brought to you by Laird Superfood. I know it's not fair. Laird Superfood was started in my kitchen, so yes, I'm excited to share it with you. It was started about 10 years ago. Not only does my entire family consume it, but Laird and I work on every product. What goes in the bag, the testing, we have really strict guardrails, but forget all that. It is so delicious. We've got coffees, Peruvian high altitude, low acidic coffees. We've got delicious creamers, bars, greens. But the thing I want to share with you today is our instant category. Now, a lot of times people think, oh, instant. Believe me, not only do we not sacrifice on ingredients, but it is so delicious and so convenient. So let's say you're on the go. Maybe you're working in an office or traveling on an airplane or maybe heading to college. I love our instant category so much because all you have to do is add hot water. If you like to ice your stuff, you can easily do that too, but it's so easy to use. It has high level coffee ingredients with our creamers. We've got instant latte, instant mocha, our latest instant vanilla latte. It is so delicious. I'm not a real vanilla girl, but I love this instant vanilla latte. Why? First of all, we use real vanilla, no natural flavors, no artificial flavors, no weird ingredients. Just incredible ingredients, MCT oil, so really nice for your energy, that sustained energy. You don't crash and kind of get like caffeine up and jittery down. Just a nice smooth delivery. And again, it's so simple to use. All you do is add hot water wherever you are. So if you've never checked out Laird Superfood, by all means, see if what product suits your lifestyle the best. But I want to tell you, I love our instant products. And actually, Pretty soon, in about 2 weeks, we're even going to have our instant pumpkin latte for those of you who like that little spicy bit. And if you're not a coffee drinker, I even have instant matcha, really, really trendy, and instant chai. And if you want to, head to lairdsuperfood.com. And if you put in the code Gabby20, so it's LAIRDSUPERFOOD.com. And don't forget to use the code Gabby, GABBY 20 at checkout for 20% off your entire order. I promise you will find something that not only you love, but will make your life just a little tastier, easier, and more energized.